I think it was the actual person who cast me. I have a feeling, well, I have a very secure feeling that it was Ron Sproat, who was one of the writers, and he'd been a playwright at Yale while I was there as a directing major. But I was in a lot of plays. I was acting a lot up there, and I was playing villains, villain after villain after villain. Because my whole thrust of playing villainy is to not play villain, but to play a human being who has his own needs in life and is not totally a villain. There isn't such a thing as a total villain. I don't care who you mention. But I mean, I played many roles that have been written purely as villains, and I'll look for something that runs against the grain. And if I'm doing goody two-shoes, which I've not often, but occasionally done, I'll make him into a little sly puss sometime in one way or another. I mean, just to make the person interesting, just to make the character unpredictable. That's the essence of acting, to be unpredictable. So I tried to do that with Barnabas. So that's how I met. Well, anyway, Ron Sproat had remembered me from Yale doing that kind of thing. And so I found out just in recent years that, for one reason or another, that indeed he was the one that was most influential. I think he wanted them to see me. And then they talked to me. Then they called me in again after they said that I had the role. They called me up for a meeting with them. It was like a board meeting, and on the weekend before my first show. And they wanted to discuss this thing. Apparently it was a very important, it was a very essential thing that this character work. It was the last hope they had of making the thing keep going, I guess. So, but I wasn't aware of that, of course, but I was aware of something strange going on because they interviewed me. And I wasn't aware of those early episodes to that extent of when this idea of guilt. I suppose it started with my conversation with the writers and the associate producer when we had that meeting. Certainly, I played, for instance, I'd played evil priests in 3 or 4 times, and including not the priest, but a Catholic, Philip II, in that liberal play by Schiller called Don Carlos, and I had to play the black villain, as it were, you know. Well, I mean, I'm not going to play an evil Catholic priest. I was brought up a Protestant myself, but I'm not going to play just because he's Catholic, he's therefore evil, and then because he's a master or a priest that has to deal with lepers, or even the Jewish problem, you know, in Golem, and I was the evil priest that, I mean, he's got his problems too. He's got to survive.
But he's evil for some reason.
And so he's evil, but then who isn't? I mean, there isn't a person in the world that I've ever met that isn't got an evil streak in him. So what I think is horrible is that people don't know when it's over, and they identify so much with it. It's why soap opera actors get far more mail than movie stars do, because we're in their living rooms constantly, every day. And it's not an appraisal of your acting as much like it would be for movie actors, maybe, because they have a chance to, they've had to go home and sit down and write. But for soaps, they're right there. And they're practically writing their letter while they're watching. So it's a very involved thing, and they become very identified with these people. It's like there's like second families. Well, when you have a second family like the family in Dark Shadows in your living room, I mean, it's and taking it seriously.
In the fantasy world, you can separate it.
People don't. They don't want to. They don't want to separate the fantasy. Especially, as I say, when it's in your living room all the time, day after day after day. So it's something that I never understood for a long while, but I guess that's what it is. I've often said there was nothing new about a monster being a good guy. I mean, you know, like the Quasimodo's a teddy bear, and so was Boris Karloff as the monster. I mean, you know, as the bad Frankenstein monster. He was a nice sweetheart underneath if you got him in the right mood, you know. But no, you're right. I think Bela Lugosi's Dracula, of course, was as ice cold. It was like cold, like a fish. You know, it was fascinating to watch in some ways, but it was like a ballet, the way he moved around and so forth. But yeah, he was kind of a cold fish.
Christopher Lee was a step in the right direction.
And then, of course, that's rightfully the way a vampire should be played. It's a cold fish because he's bloodless. So how can he have passion without blood? You know, in a way. He never, I mean, whatever blood he got, it didn't last long, apparently. Whatever. But, you know, I never bothered with the idea, the concept of vampire. When I got the role, I did a little research, but I found that the producers and the directors and everything were, I mean, they had shadows of me all over the place. They could, every once in a while, they'd catch me in a mirror accidentally. And they had me drinking Amontillado and tea with people, and vampires aren't supposed to do all those things. So I said, well, if you people aren't going to stick to the rules, to hell with it, I'm not either. I just thought I'd better do it. But I wasn't really interested in the vampire per se. I was interested with a human being with a conflict, with an internal problem that he had to work out with all kinds of internal problems of himself. So that's what I did.
Were you a fan of Gothic cinema? Or
No, no. As a kid, you know, I had two older brothers, and they used to drag me downtown to the Tivoli and the Granada theaters, where the Tarzan things ran, and the westerns and all of the spook stuff. And about 6 or 7, when I was able to waddle off by myself, I'd walk over to the Capitol and the Palace, which had all the top pictures playing, and I was going to see things like Claude Colbert and Cleopatra and Gold Diggers of 1931 and all the musicals and all the romantic pictures. Merle Oberon, Joel McCrea, Cary Grant's early pictures, and all of the comedy things I used to go to see, but not the B movies. I had no interest in it. I had no interest in the horror, not at all, not at all. I remember seeing the Dracula thing when I was a kid, but had no particular interest in it. In fact, I saw it about 6 or 7 years ago on Channel 13, and
the Lugosi one you're talking about?
Lugosi one, and I was kind of fascinated, just as an academic exercise. And I thought, well, the way he moves, it should be just like Dark Shadow should have been an opera, made into an opera. It was operatic. That the Dracula, Bela Lugosi Dracula, should have been a ballet.